Have you ever gotten so mad at a video game that you just shut off your system completely? You were in the middle of an intense match and through divine intervention, someone somehow got the better of you? Well, that's not the end of the world. We've all rage quit at some point, but would you rage quit if there were actually consequences for your actions? That's why we've compiled a list of video games that punish you for rage quitting. Before we begin, hit that subscribe button to stay up to date with all of our awesome videos and click that bell to become part of our notification squad. Halo. One of the first games to bring online play to the masses, the Halo series has always taken pride in itself on their varied game modes and top-notch gameplay. Every iteration of the franchise improves on the next. Because the series functions around this style and since it's a first-person shooter, you'll naturally have some people who leave because they're upset or aren't doing well. To be fair, if they're really playing badly, the team would probably be better off without them anyway. Keep the strong and cut off the weak. It's survival of the fittest in the video game world. More often than not, the result for rage quitting is that you'll be temporarily banned from matchmaking. That's not too bad, but in Halo 5 Guardians, the penalty became a little more intricate. Quitting in the middle of a match is just one of the misbehaviors that can actually be reported, just like hacking or using inappropriate language. If you continue, you could get an extremely long ban at anywhere from a full day to an entire week. Best if you try to keep your nose clean then. Super Smash Bros. Wii U. While Super Smash Bros. Brawl was a lot to learn in terms of how it handled online play, Super Smash Bros. For Wii U had worked out most of the kinks. The almost unavoidable lag from Brawl was not nearly as prevalent in Super Smash Bros. For Wii U. Among these changes was a penalty for people who decided to shut off their game in frustration or leave because they were upset. The next time you go to boot up a game, you'll receive a notification that you can't play online for 10 minutes. That's pretty much the standard penalty for multiplayer games. However, you can't just shut off the Wii U and do something else for those few minutes. You can't just turn off the console and make yourself a sandwich. The game has to be running in that time for you to be allowed to go back in. You can still make the sandwich, just make sure the game is still running first. The only sad part about this is that the penalty is active if you accidentally disconnect, but that is unavoidable for a lot of games because it's difficult to know whether or not it's by choice or because of your terrible internet connection. Street Fighter V. Rage quitting is a serious problem for some games, and Street Fighter V is one of them. To be honest, many fighting games are full of rage quitters whining about unfair matchmaking. Due to the nature of the mechanics, some people will learn the combos in and out, while others are left behind in the dust. Practice makes perfect, but some gamers expect to be the cream of the crop within a few hours, which is incredibly unrealistic. This leads many to get utterly creamed before they even know what hit them. More bodying means more rage quitters. Ever since the game released, there's been a big problem with these kinds of players. Because of this, Capcom took extreme measures to make sure that it wouldn't happen as much. Any person who rage quits will be banned from online matchmaking, around 24 hours for a few infractions. They'll lose 1,000 league points and will be branded with a special symbol to let all other players know that they're fighting a rage quitter. Capcom is doing the right thing here because a quitting mentality most certainly should not be accepted. It turns out the most powerful punch in Street Fighter V doesn't come from any of the characters. For Honor. For Honor is one of the more recent brawler games. You take the role of a historical soldier and you fight other types of warriors in a match to the death. As you can imagine, this can lead to some very one-sided fights where the person getting the short end of the stick will want to do nothing but leave the match in a whining rage. While it didn't have a rage quit penalty at first, For Honor listened to the community and now implements a somewhat fair system to prevent it from happening. If someone tries to quit an online match, they'll receive a warning that they'll be banned from matchmaking for 10 minutes. The classic "Are you sure?" quit screen appears, and it gives the players a choice. If they go through with it, then they get the ban. If they're the leader of a group, then everyone in that group is subject to the ban, which is a little unfair. Why does the entire group have to suffer for one player's rage quit? However, to prevent people with bad connections getting banned, there's a 30-second grace period at the start of each match, so it's not all bad. SPLATOON 2. Nintendo has more recently been constructing games that lend themselves better to online play, and Splatoon 2 for the Switch is no exception. Being a direct sequel to the critically acclaimed Wii U game, Splatoon 2 builds upon the online formula of its predecessor. However, this means that Nintendo will be putting a rage quit penalty in place, something that wasn't present in the original game. If you leave or disconnect, you'll receive an expertly worded message about how that was pretty suspicious activity. If you leave again, then you'll be banned from the online play for 5 minutes, and the penalty does not get worse the more you rage quit. That doesn't sound too bad, but if you think about it, Turf War games only last 3 minutes, so you're potentially missing out on 2 full games of experience. That's a pretty big deal. The only problem with this system is that Nintendo can't tell if you rage quit or if your internet has connection issues, so you may get banned for something that was not even your fault. Maybe if they had a short grace period like in For Honor, their problems would be solved. Overwatch. With a massive game like Overwatch, there's no doubt that people will be leaving matches for various reasons. Sometimes matches are long, so players don't play the whole game because they have other things to do. Either way, Blizzard felt that it was important to put a rage quit system in place to prevent players from leaving their teams out to dry. However, it's not quite as simple as banning people from the matchmaking. As a matter of fact, it's a bit more crippling. Overwatch prides itself on progression. You gain more experience to unlock more items for your characters and get more points to spend. If you continuously leave in the middle of a match, then you'll receive a brutal penalty that affects how much experience you gain. You'll end up receiving 75% less experience if you continue to leave while in an online game. Blizzard are most certainly not fooling around. They know rage quitting is a problem, and this incredibly harsh penalty might do the trick. The only way to resolve this is to have a better ratio of completed games, which could take quite some time depending how far gone you are. So if you play Overwatch, make sure you play until completion. League of Legends. League of Legends is a big multiplayer online battle arena that almost every gamer has heard of at one point or another. The game requires players to work together on the same team in order to claim victory. If one person isn't pulling their weight, the whole game could come crashing down. Everyone should know their role and do their best to fulfill that role. Because of this, the people in charge of the game created their own automated system to crack down on players who were abandoning their team in the middle of games. Titled Leaver Buster, this system will activate if you leave in the middle of a game. Your first infraction will grant you a 6-minute ban on online play, which is not too bad. If you do it again, you'll receive a 15-minute ban, which is much worse, but still, time bans aren't incredibly effective methods to prevent rage quitting. That being said, if the game is ranked, then you'll lose 3 league points for the first and 10 league points for every infraction after that. Banning players for certain periods of time is not a big deal, but taking away league points is really harsh. Overall, it's a solid method to discourage players from leaving their teams. Animal Crossing. This game is not online-based, so you may be wondering why there's a rage quit penalty. Well, Animal Crossing functions on many time-oriented mechanics and difficult-to-find objects. This means you could be hunting for certain things on a particular time of day to make good progress in your playthrough. You'd be surprised at how much that tuna you caught might sell for. However, it's all too easy to screw up, lose money, or some other bad circumstance. It seems so simple to just shut the game off and turn it back on before any permanent damage is done then. Well, Mr. Resetti might have something to say about that. This mad mole will appear at your front door and give you a long lecture about how it's bad to just reset your game. He might just be the Animal Crossing parent you never had. Do this multiple times and he'll get even angrier, taking up even more of your precious time. Mr. Resetti is not one to be trifled with. Note to self, if you messed up trying to fish for a shark today, don't rage quit and turn off the game. Just try again tomorrow. Good things come to those who wait. Counter-Strike Global Offensive. One of the biggest multiplayer shooters of all time, Counter-Strike Global Offensive came out back in 2012 and still holds a massive count of players to this day. There's a ranked community, a casual community, and just about anything else you could possibly think of. Clearly, there has to be some systems in place to stop people from rage quitting all the time, since it's pretty much unavoidable in a first-person shooter. As it stands, CSGO will penalize you for leaving by restricting your access to the online matchmaking. You'll start with a small penalty of a few minutes, but it'll keep growing as you perform the action multiple times. Even if you haven't been banned in a long time, if you have a history of being banned, that penalty will be quite harsh. Many people have reported being banned for an entire week as a result of multiple disconnects or rage quits. We mentioned earlier that time bans aren't an effective way to end rage quitting, but a week-long ban might change our minds. That is an incredibly long amount of time, which might make a rage quitter change his ways for good. Perhaps it's better to just stay in the game. Rocket League. Rocket League is one of the most fast-paced games you can play today. Taking the role of rocket-propelled battle cars as you try to smack a ball into the other team's goal seems stupid on paper, but is excellent in reality. The explosion of the ball once your team is scored is so rewarding. Because of the nature of the game, it's spawned both a ranked and casual community. While there's no deserter penalty for casual play, the blow is softened by the fact that anyone can join any match in progress and the AI will take over in the meantime, so you won't be down a player for long. To be honest, the AI is quite terrible, but it's better than nothing until the new player is found. If you leave a ranked match, then you'll not only put your team down a man for the rest of the match, but you'll be banned from that mode for 15 minutes. It's not a massive penalty, difficulty, and it'll probably only work for those who only want to play ranked. That being said, at least Psyonix has done something to penalize rage quitters, which is more than most video games out there. Well, if that doesn't teach us rage quitting is never a good idea, we don't know what will. The power button should only be used once your gaming session is finished. Let us know of any other video games that punish you for rage quitting in the comments section below. Also, if you haven't already, hit the subscribe button to keep up to date with our awesome playlist. Thanks for watching!